What's going on, team? Proof here, and today I'm coming at you with the how to play video for Duel Masters plays. So I hope you've been checking out the playlist of how to get the game and how to navigate through the screen. To get to this screen here, you go to the single player content and go to the tower, and this is the first person you play when you go into the tower. And kind of what's going on here, this is the missions that you have. So if you complete the tasks, you can get up to 3 stars for it, and by completing all the tasks you'll be able to get more gold or little extra perks along the way as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play through the game, kind of explain how to play Duel Masters if you've never played before, or if you haven't played in a while, or if you're just new to playing it on the app, that we'll be able to navigate through it. So, and when you accept the mission by hitting the blue button, you come to the deck selection screen, and it ranges from deck, it goes in order by the decks that you've made, and these down here are the decks that they give you after you make your account and you sign in for the first time. But I'm gonna pick this deck here just because I think it'd be a good deck to show the basic flow of the game and how to navigate through the game. And kind of just breaking down what's on the screen up here, the big image up here shows your key card, which has a little special animation when you draw the card. You can set the key card when you're making the deck, which I'll get to in a future video. This goes through the civilization breakdown. So there's light, water, darkness, fire, and nature. As you can see, I have 15 water and 25 nature. And in Duel Masters here, especially in the game app, you can only have a max of 40 cards. So you can't have more or less than that. So you have to make your deck around that deck restriction, which I really enjoy, but it's something to keep in mind if you've come in from the old English game where they didn't have the, you had to have at least 40 cards, but there was no maximum. You weren't restricted to the 40 card limit. This is my mana curve from 1 through 8+, and you can see how it breaks down here. This shows how many shield triggers your deck has. As you see, my deck has a lot of them, which I'll explain as the game flow happens. This is your deck. You can change your deck name. You can change it here. This is creatures, and then this is spells, and then show you have 40 out of 40 cards, which is helpful in the deck building screen. This is how you start the game, and then this is how you get to the deck edit. If you're not happy with your deck as it is, you can edit it from this screen, and it takes you to the same builder from the original one, which I'll get to in a future video. You can also go back this way. I do like that you can edit your deck from this screen as opposed to having to go back and then get to it through the home screen, so it's very efficient that way. But that'll do it for the screen. Let's accept it and let's hop to it. So my opponent is going first. Once it comes to my turn, I'm going to explain what's going on the screen here. Okay, so from top down, we have the options here. This is how you can see quickly. This is how you get to the settings to be able to tweak the settings the same as you could from the home screen. This is how you just cancel to get back to the main screen. This is your opponent's hand. You can have a max of 10 cards in hand through the app, just because of space. Excuse me. My opponent, this shows how many number of shields that they have. This shows how many shields that they have as well, with a visual. You can add shields to your shield zone in the game through some of the cards. You can have a max of 10 of those as well. And this just shows your card count. We each have one. So how many cards left are in deck, how many cards are in hand, how many cards are in your graveyard. And then this here is the mana zone, looking like the Infinity Gauntlet, which I'll explain in a little bit, but this kind of just shows which colors you have currently, and then how much mana you have available to use. This shows your opponent's graveyard by clicking on it, as it's empty of course, but it's there. It's currently blocked by my webcam, but this shows the game log. There's like a little blue icon behind it. It kind of breaks down the turn order of like your opponent added mana, what I drew for turn, things like that. And then my graveyard down here. And then this is my play mat. You can get that from using chips, and it kind of just sits here. Otherwise, you'd be on the same playing surface as my opponent here. Turn in button, deck, my shield zone, my mana zone, and then my hand. For the battle zone, you can only have you can have a max of 7 creatures on the battle zone at one time. Beyond that, you're kind of restricted to what you have, so you need to make sure you can plan your attacks accordingly from there. So all the cards are in Japanese, so if you're not familiar with the original Duel Masters game, you won't know what they do per se. So I am going to leave a link to the Duel Masters wiki and their Duel Masters plays wiki, which kind of gives you all the cards available, and it kind of breaks down what they do. Well, it does break down what it, not kind of, but you're able to navigate through it to find out what the cards do if you're not familiar with it. It's a very helpful tool to use and utilize for understanding what the cards do. I might make a video going over some of the keywords, but I'm going to keep this more basic for now and explain the things that come up. So if you wanted to see something like that, just let me know. But if you tap your hand, you're able to enlarge it to be able to start doing some things. So as you can see my hand here, I'm gonna click on the card. This breaks down what the card is. So this is a spell, basically notified by the lack of power down here in the bottom left corner. This is the mana cost. This is how much mana you need to have available to be able to cast it. This is the name, the text box. This shows that it's a shield trigger, which I'll explain in a little bit, and then the card effect here. And for those unfamiliar with Duel Masters, all cards in your hand are capable of being mana. So at the beginning of your turn, the way the turn order goes, you draw your card, you play mana from your hand, then you can cast or summon cards, and then you attack, and then you end. All cards are capable of being mana and charge to your mana zone, and you do that once per turn, up to once per turn. You don't have to, of course, but that's what this little number here specifies. So let's go back. I'm gonna take this card here and drag it to my mana zone and let it go, and it plops it into the mana zone. And so you see that you have 1 out of 1 mana available, and it shows you have the blue crystal here. These crystals show that you've unlocked the mana to be able to cast any card from that color, as long as you have enough mana to satisfy it. So for example, in a couple turns I'm gonna be able to play this 3-cost card because I'll have 3 out of 3 mana. If I had another 1-cost card, I'd be able to cast that as well, even if I didn't have another blue mana. Oh, fat hand. So my opponent played a blocker. Blockers are able to intercept attacks as you're attacking, so they can't attack players for the most part. Some of the cards in the light, the yellow cards here, are able to attack players. The players consider the shield zone and the player themselves. So as long as it has the second ability here, it means that they can't attack players, which means they can still attack creatures. And to attack creatures, they need to be tapped down or already have attacked or somehow otherwise tapped down, which light can do as well. And they also have other effects as well. Let's see, I'm going to not you, I want this one. And then in my turn, now I can play some things. So let's put so the reason at the beginning you might see it pulsating like that, it lets you know that you haven't yet put a card to your mana zone, because as I mentioned before, Duel Masters is very linear in their turn progression. So if I say I had 3 mana next turn and I wanted to play these 2 cards, I would have to I have to add mana first before I can play it. I can't play this card here, which lets me draw a card when it enters battle, and then see if I have a better card to add to mana, and then play the 1-cost card. You can't do that. You have to commit a card to the mana zone first, and then play a card. So I'm gonna play this card here. I drew myself a card, and so I can't do anything else this turn. So end turn. All right, so this is where talk about the mana zone is important. So as you can see, I have water and then 2 nature cards, which means I have those 2 cards or those 2 colors unlocked. So no matter what happens, if I wanted to play 3 water cards, I could play as long as I had enough mana to sustain it. In old Duel Masters, at least pre-Kaijudo, it worked that you had to use at least 1 card from the related color to summon it, otherwise you couldn't. So that's a change there to keep in mind as you're playing the game. It's actually very helpful for making like a couple greedier plays that you otherwise couldn't do, or having splash colors, because then you could play multiple cards of that color even though you kind of splash a lower amount to unlock it. So I want to, my opponent's deck is very aggressive, so I'm gonna put that in there. And then this card here lets me add the top card of my deck to the mana zone. So it adds that, and now I can play the 2-cost card because it goes in untapped to be used. Now I could attack here to go after my opponent's shield, but my opponent has a blocker here, so it intercepts like I talked about. And when creatures battle, they compare their power. So if it's higher than the opponent, it takes it out free and clear. If they match, they trade with each other, and then they both go to the graveyard. The only exception to that are cards with Slayer, which usually isn't, well, as far as I know, is only in the Darkness Civilization. And when those trade power, the creature with Slayer will always trade with the other creature, no matter what their power is. Well, let me rephrase that. If it's lower than the Slayer creature, the Slayer creature will win. If it's higher, then they'll both die and they both go to the graveyard. That's what Slayer means. It always makes the other card go to the graveyard. In this case, I'm going to keep this guy around, so I'm not going to attack and give my opponent the free trade. And the way to win a game of Duel Masters is that you have to knock out all 5 of your opponent's shields, and then attack the player once without any shields down to win the game. Cards that are broken as shields, they go to your opponent's hand unless you want to activate the shield trigger. When you choose to activate the shield trigger, you can play the card for free without considering your mana, whether it's a shield trigger spell or creature, because there are creatures and they work the same way. So if it's a spell, you activate the spell and then it goes to the graveyard. If it's a creature, it goes straight to the battle zone, and then it can attack the following turn if you so choose. So I'm going to put this card to the mana zone, and I'm going to play my big giant here. The other way to win a game of Duel Masters is to deck your opponent out. The second that they draw their last card in the deck, they lose the game. You aren't able to complete the turn and see if you can win on your turn after you draw the last card. Once you draw the last card, game's over. So they're attacking now. I didn't have any blockers, so it didn't give me the option to block. And it displays the card here to show you if it's going to be a shield trigger or not. If it was, it'd have like a little lightning bolt icon here, which I hope you get to see in this video. But it's not, so you hit OK, and it just comes to hand. That's the key card draw animation, just to let you know that you've drawn your key card. My key card is Bark Whip. It's a 2-mana evolution creature. evolution creatures are creatures that evolve by going on top of the card with the specified race. So that's a lot. So I'll show you this way. So play it the same way by dragging it to the battle zone, letting it go, and it shows you the eligible cards that can be used for what we call bait to evolve them into. You select the one you want and then hit OK, and it evolves. The benefit to evolution creatures is that they're usually stronger than the cards you evolve them from, and they can attack the turn that you put them into the battle zone, which is important for low cost cards such as Bark Whip here, because if I had another Beast Folk, the race that it evolves from, if I played one in the same turn, I could evolve it into Bark Whip, and then it can attack to make it like a 5 mana or 4 mana really fast attacker. So it's something to keep in mind. I'm going to attack with let's not attack yet. Let's play the other Bark Whip. Evolve that one as well. Unnecessary, but I like Bark Whip, so we're gonna put them on the board. So that swing here, point it, drag it up to your opponent, or I could drag it to my opponent's creature here. You can only attack opposing creatures if they're tapped down, as you can see the little turn icon there. And then same thing, they'll compare their power. Otherwise, well, there are cards that can attack untapped creatures, but it'll be specified. So I'm gonna attack there. My opponent blocked, but my big giant here says that if he is blocked, I can still select an opponent's shield to break it. Otherwise, normally he's a double breaker, which means it could break 2 shields in one instance. So in this case, I'm just going to select one, check the one that you want, and then hit OK to show that it's 1 out of 1. And then it checks for shield trigger. And then since it isn't, it went to his hand as well. I just kind of want to show you guys the attack animation for tap down creatures. So it compares power, hit, he loses, go to the graveyard, and then attack here. Checking. Sometimes it's important to attack your opponent's creatures because these attack one at a time. It's not like Magic the Gathering that you can attack them all at the same time, or it's not like Hearthstone where you can attack and then go back and play cards from hand, things like that. So if your opponent has a shield trigger, which you have knowledge of, that might be threatening to one of your attacks, you can choose to attack into their creature beforehand before you go into their shields, and then make sure you don't lose out on getting that value. And then I'm gonna drag this up here, click the middle one. So no blockers, but I am gonna cast one of the cards in my hand, one of the spells, to show you guys the target animation. So let's do this one, big natural snare. So same thing, you drag it up into the play area and let it go. It gives you the eligible targets for your spell, and so you just select the one that you want, and then gives you the 1 out of 1. Make sure that's the one you want. You can flip it before you commit to it, and then hit OK. It goes away. In this case, it goes to the mana zone because that's the nature of the spell. And then, since this is a double breaker, this means that it's going to break both in the same instance. It's going to do it automatically since there's no blockers here and there's only 2 shields left. And now it checks it. And then now I have free and clear for any of these to attack for lethal. Send Bark Whip in there, kind of like the boy. And then whether you win or lose, kind of just shows you the animation and kind of shows you your avatar here, and it shows you the card back or the sleeve that you have on your card, which is really cool. Nice little small attention to detail that I like. So I leveled up, so I got 10 coins, 10 gold for it. This shows if you didn't have the missions completed, this shows you which ones you achieve, and it shows you which ones you have left to achieve if you didn't quite finish it. This shows how many turns you took to win. This shows you like a breakdown. I don't really understand it that well. I don't use it that often. This can replay the game for you, showing you the exact order of how things went. Like the computer plays it out. Kind of just lets you, if you want to look back and see where you made a mistake along the way. This lets you replay the game using your same deck. Say if you think your deck is good for the that particular mission, but just have some bad luck, you can just re-roll instantly into it. And then this lets you go hit OK and go to the next screen, where it's usually story dialogue. And then if you lost, you can retry again, go through the deck screen, maybe tweak your deck up, and then go from there. But oh, got those clear. Cool beans. I think I get 70 gold for it. I do get 70 gold for it. Neat. So that'll do it for the how to play video. Hope I explained things well. Again, since all the cards are in Japanese, if you're not already familiar with them, definitely consult the Duel Masters wiki and the Duel Masters Plays wiki. They're currently in the process of updating the pages for the Duel Masters Plays cards, there are some differences between Duel Masters Plays and the original card game, because they did buff or nerf some things to make them more in line with the power they need to be. Usually they buff the cards up, but some cards had to be toned down a little bit to fit within the card restriction of the mobile app. But yeah, definitely consult that. I'm gonna leave links to them down below. I hope you enjoy. I hope you've been playing the game if you've already got it downloaded before this video, and look out for some more content. I'm really enjoying it. I really love this game. So hope you guys enjoy, and until the next one, peace, be easy.